Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, a show dedicated to helping you expand your capacity, take your life in every area to an entirely new level, and creating a day and a life by design. Here's your host, Dan Hafner. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Your Day podcast. As always, your host, Dan Hafner here, founder of RunWage and creator of this podcast. Today's topic is this: everything is negotiable. As always, I appreciate you guys joining. Enjoy this episode. All right, everyone. So just had a couple of things that have happened over the past few weeks. Past couple weeks, I should say, that just kind of made me think about this would be a good topic to talk about. And it's this topic of everything being negotiable, right? Now, when I used to work for other, when I had jobs back in my early 20s, I never really was in the mindset that things were negotiable. Like you kind of grow up in a mindset of, well, this is the way things are because this person told me so, or this group told me so, or this book told me so, or my teacher told me so, or whatever it might be, right? You just accept things the way they are, and that's natural. That's kind of how a lot of us are raised up to be, whether it's family members or friends or whoever influences us in whatever way. That's perfectly natural, and that's just what happens, right? But then as you get older, and maybe as you get into different situations in life, you start to kind of branch out from those things, and you start to kind of discover the truth and what is negotiable and what is doable and what is possible for yourself, right? And this is the place I found myself probably two and a half years ago, and I still find myself in today as I go along, because you almost find when you start doing these types of things, when you start going down self-improvement, business, entrepreneurship, all kinds of different stuff, the type of things that I do, you start to see these opportunities and these things come up everywhere, right? And like right now, for example, my wife and I were in the process of moving up to Pennsylvania, and I just see all these different opportunities inside of buying houses or finding places to live, and you start to realize that everything really is negotiable, right? Prices are negotiable, closing dates are negotiable, working through contracts and the different contracts and the things that you can get with the house or exclude from the house. Everything's negotiable, right? I remember when we were actually touring one of the houses, I was asking the real estate agent lady, I was like, do you think this would come with this house? And she's like, well, everything's available for the right price, right? And I was like, that's a good reminder. That is a good reminder. Everything is available for the right price, right? And that it's, whether you agree or disagree with that, like, honestly, it's a truth. It's, anything can be bought, right? Like it's, and I don't want to go down the path of government conspiracy theories and prostitution and all this other stuff that, could come to mind with this type of thing. Let's try to keep it clean here. But another thing that I started to realize back when I was in sales was the true power of negotiation and how to not only, I don't want to say manipulate, but to influence and to meet, like almost like the art of the deal, right? I've never read that book, by the way. I've never read the Trump book, Art of the Deal. I would like to read it at some point, but I've never read it. But I kind of understand with the title, right? Like the art of this deal, there's two parties. One of you wants something and the other one wants something in return. This is how deals are made, right? And the whole point of the deal is to make sure that everyone walks away happy. There's not one person getting screwed or manipulated or just completely had the wool pull over their eyes. But the best type of deal is where both parties or multiple parties can win, right? So, excuse me, as you look across your life, where do you see different opportunities where things can be negotiated, right? And you might even want to think about this in terms of chores around the house, maybe, or things that you do inside of a group or community that you're part of, right? For a long time, like I kind of operated under this principle that household duties were shared, right? Like I was expected to do certain things. I expected my wife to do certain things, and eventually it got to a point where I realized like I had to do more than my share simply to make sure that things got done. And I'm not trying to knock my wife or say that she doesn't do enough around the house or anything like that. Just with the point that we are like what we have going on in our lives right now, like I just need to do more things. It's my responsibility as the husband, as the man, to make sure that these things get done, right? And we don't live like in a 50s household where I expect the woman to do the dishes and the cleaning and the cooking and all that stuff. And honestly, my wife doesn't have time for a lot of that, right? And I've talked about this before on the show, but I kind of in my life, this kind of came through as a mental negotiation for myself. And I was like, well, okay, this is just the facts of our reality, and this is the facts of what's going on, and this is just what needs done, and it's just stepping up to the plate to do it, right? So it's almost not, it's not even out like external things that you can look for areas to negotiate in, but almost inside of your own mind, right? And this turns into somewhat of a dangerous thing sometimes because we tend to negotiate with ourselves, and we negotiate ourselves out of doing things, right? You make these deals with yourself like, well, I got up late, so I'm just going to skip my workout today. I'll do it later tonight. And then you never get to it. And then you don't get to it the next day. And then you don't get to it the next day, right? Or, well, I'll just have one more cup of coffee. It's just, I'll eat less today, or I'll do, I don't really have one for that. I just kind of came, that's me. I drink like 2 to 3 cups of coffee a day, and I'm trying to cut back. But, like you have these stories and these deals you make with yourself as the day progresses, as your life progresses, and you almost become unconscious to these, right? So when you get to this level, this ninja level of being able to say, like, to realize and recognize, okay, I keep making this deal with myself to get out of something or to avoid something. Why do I continue to do that? Right? Like there's another deeper level there of, okay, I recognize now that I'm negotiating my way out of doing something because I'm either scared of doing it, I don't want to do it, it doesn't give me what I want, or I just simply am being lazy, right? But this is really where negotiation starts, because it almost becomes like, how far am I willing to go? What am I willing to give? What am I willing to do in order to make this negotiation work for myself? And then this then applies externally, right? Like, when you have a deal of a sale of something and like, okay, this is the price. This is the lowest price that I will sell this for. Maybe it's a car you're selling, right? And you say, okay, I know I'm going to sell this car. I'm going to list it at $10,000, but I'll really take $8,000 for it, right? So somebody comes in, they're like, well, we'll give you $7,000 for it. Or maybe we'll give you $6,000 for it. And like, hey, I'm only willing to go this much. And everyone knows how the back and forth of negotiation works, but it all starts internally. Right? Like it all starts, I'll have you consider that. Like negotiation starts internally, and it starts with recognizing the leverage you have, the power you have, and not only in that situation, but the leverage and the power that you have on yourself, right? Because this is, man, the more I sit back and think about this, there's a lot more I could talk about, and I could probably do an hour-long podcast on this, but I keep these short because sometimes as I go through these podcasts, I feel like I just open up Pandora's box in my own mind. Sometimes, like I go in wanting to talk about one thing, and then I completely get like, oh wow, that's a good idea, or that's a good thought, and I don't have scripts when I do these. Like I literally just click record and I just go. Right. So sometimes I do get distracted. Sometimes I get off on a tangent like I am right now. But that's why you guys listen to me. That's why you love me, right? Anyway, as we wrap up today, we're coming up on 10 minutes here. Just look in your life for where things can be negotiated, because you might be operating under a story that this situation or this thing works this way because that's just the way it is. But if you really take a step back, you might be able to negotiate with yourself or with someone else a better way to do it, a more efficient way to do it, a smarter way to do it. Because the status quo is death. And if you are constantly accepting things for the way they are, you just won't get anywhere in life. You just won't. You have to continually challenge, you have to continually analyze, you have to continually question if the way things are is currently the best way. So that is my question and my challenge for you. Look in your life at areas that you can possibly negotiate something better. And this is very broad, and that's intentional, right? Okay, so that's all for today, my friends. I really appreciate you guys joining as always. Look for areas you can negotiate, and I'm going to actually do that myself today too. I have a couple ideas in mind. Okay, everyone. Well, that's all. I really appreciate you guys again. Head over to runyourdaypodcast.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Been sending out. People are really, really liking it as well. So you can get subscribed to that at runyourdaypodcast.com. All right, my friends. You guys make it a great rest of your day. Signing off. We'll talk to you next time. Hey, have you ever thought about joining a virtual run challenge? As COVID-19 continues to upend our lives and change our life routines, finding fresh ways to challenge yourself physically can be difficult. I know I'm having trouble with that. It can also be pretty hard to connect with others and find accountability partners for the purpose of fitness as well. That's why we created RunWage Virtual Challenges. RunWage Challenges are a new and exciting way to stay physically active and maintain social distancing. Every challenge takes place 100% online, and you can compete against and engage with runners from all over the world. Best of all, they are the only virtual challenges out there which actually reward participants with real cash. That means you have no excuse for staying inactive during this pandemic. So if you've been looking for a fresh and interesting way to stay active and get your miles in, go to runwageapp.com/virtual challenges to join me and the diverse community of runners already competing. That's runwageapp.com/virtual challenges. Can't wait to see you there.